Fatboy Slim. Hooray!
Hooray!
Did you wake up this morning after achieving legendary status and think, I'm now a legend, a bona fide legend?
It felt slightly different. There was a slight spring in my step. I was sort of knackered out by the emotion of it all.
Yeah, it was
kind of like being on This Is Your Life and being sort of made into the mafia like on the same night, and possibly getting married. Only my wife wasn't there. No, it was a very humbling and beautiful evening.
And the auction got a little rowdy.
Oh, that's good. That auctions are supposed to. No one went in the swimming pool though. That was a plus.
Yeah, well, I thought that was a minus, but maybe tonight we're DJing down there later, aren't we? So I just dragged you away from. It looked like a good little photo there. You, Jean-Michel Jarre, and Idris Elba.
Yeah, that's an unlikely super group. But we might. Yeah, no, it's that's one thing about this place. Just you never know who you're going to walk into.
Yeah, Jean-Michel Jarre. Wow.
How's Idris, by the way?
Great.
He's cool. My wife's in love with him. And I've just been talking to Jean-Michel Jarre about whether or not we could create a plug-in that imitated the way air moved in the 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. I wondered what you were so deep in conversation about.
We were talking about amp simulators, and I was talking about trying to get the drum sound, like when you sample breakbeats, 70s snare drums just sounded wrong. And so we got 70s snare drum, used the same studio that people use, found the same microphones, and it still sounded modern. And we came up with the theory that perhaps the air just kind of was less polluted or more polluted and sounded different. So Jean-Michel Jarre is going to try and create an algorithm for 70s air so we can get the snare to sound right.
That's pretty far out.
This is the kind of networking we do at a musical summit.
Okay, well let's kick it off. Warm you up a bit, Norman, with a few true or falses just to get things rolling. So you need to answer. Swear on the IMS programme that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You were once in a band called the Stomping Pond Frogs.
True.
Right. That was before pre-House Martins?
That was a prototype House Martins.
Right.
It was me and Paul Heaton and two others in where we grew up in Red Hill. And then I moved down to Brighton to go to college, and the band split up, and Paul moved up to Hull and started the House Martins, and then I rejoined when I finished college. So it was, the Stomping Pond Frogs were the prototype House Martins.
And who came up with such a fantastic name as that?
I think it was Paul, but we did on our I've still got our calling card. It said Stomping Pond Frogs International Beach Band, and we're all wearing Hawaiian shirts. So some things never change.
You've actually got your shoes on for a change.
I'm not working.
Okay.
Am I performing?
Kind of, yeah. We'll come on to that.
Take your shoes off.
Take your shoes off. Okay, your first DJ name was DJ Quentox, the ox that rocks. True or false?
Sadly true.
That is interesting name. Obviously comes from your real name, Quentin.
My original name was Quentin, yeah, and Paul Heaton again gave me the nickname Quentox because it sounded like the Quentox. And then, but obviously Quentox is not really a DJ name, so Ox. A lot of people called me Ox.
Right.
And so, and the Ox that rocks, kind of, here in suburban Red Hill, we thought that was really hip.
I'm glad you changed your name. True or false, you have a shareholding in Brighton Hove and Hove football team?
Again, true.
Okay, sadly, didn't make it up to the Premiership.
We didn't make it up to the Premiership, but I'm kind of glad in a way, because we're not quite ready for it. No, I've had a relationship with the Albion. We were shirt sponsors. Skink Records were shirt sponsors for 9 years. So during that time, I kind of got drawn into the family that is the team, and eventually kind of put some money into the club during our dark days. Yeah. Which is now all paying off because they let me play gigs in their stadium. So I got my comeback.
We'll come on to that as well. Okay, final true or false. You can run 26.2 miles in 4 hours 53.10 seconds.
I did run that distance in that time. I'm not sure if I could do it right now today. I still do a half marathon in 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you learn something new every day. I was doing my research, as you can tell. And
you can tell, yeah. I noticed you didn't make up any deliberate false ones.
That's true, actually. Very true. Okay, let's crack on then. So we're out in obviously the beautiful island of Ibiza. You're playing tonight at Dolt Villa. I mean, Ibiza for you, I've DJed with you in the toilets at Manumission, those legendary days, and And yeah, you play in Doltvilla now. Is Ibiza a special place for you?
Yeah, it's kind of triple special. It's kind of the spring. It doesn't launch your DJing career, but it's a springboard. Once you kind of get settled in here and get regular gigs, it seems to permeate across the world. So it's a great springboard, and it's a great place just to come every year. And then the icing on the cake is I met my wife here.
Of course.
At one of these kind of events for Radio 1, and we come back every year that was 14 years ago. We come back every year for our wedding anniversary. Now with our children.
Oh.
Who soon? I mean, my son. It's only a few years, and he'll be of clubbing age. So then that'll be a whole new generation of cooks terrifying the island.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go right back to the start of Fatboy Slim, not the start of your entire career, because I think probably people here want to hear about your DJing, electronic music. You know, I was lucky enough to be kind of there when Fatboy Slim was in its naissance. You know, it was back at was it called the Big Beach Boutique first, or the Beach Boutique? Or?
Big Beach Boutique.
Yeah, Big Beach Boutique. So it was to anyone that wasn't
Big Beat Boutique.
Big Beat Boutique. That's it. It was an old scout hut, wasn't it?
It wasn't actually an old scout hut. We called it a scout hut because it looked and felt like a scout hut. It had a really low ceiling. They used to serve teas because it was right by the pier in Brighton. They used to serve cream teas in the afternoon to old people, and then it was kind of our clubhouse. But no, it wasn't actually a scout hut. That's a false.
Right. Okay, that's false. I got that one wrong. But yeah, I mean, I used to go down there. I was a music journalist. I came down as a guest of Damien, who set up Skint, and you and him got me into all kinds of trouble that night. And I remember tell people about the frozen fish
incident.
The freezer.
Incidents. It wasn't big or clever. Just sitting in the dressing room bored, nothing to play with apart from the contents of the fridge, which was some fish. Somebody brought one night. I think it was Lindy Layton. I was DJing, she just came up to me and went, Norman, and gave me a frozen fish, which seemed at the time to be the totally appropriate thing to do, and I just held it up to the crowd and said, I have a frozen fish. And then every week it just became a bit of an in-gag that there would be a moment in the night. It's a bit like people holding up a tune sign or...
Yeah, kind of like that.
Kind of like that, but involving frozen fish. The only bad thing is frozen fish rapidly in a nightclub become unfrozen fish, and then they disintegrate.
So
Don't try this at home, kids.
No. At that point, how long had you been DJing for? Was that kind of, you just kind of launched yourself into it, hadn't you?
No, I'd been DJing since I was 15.
Right, okay.
And yeah, I was a DJ before I was in bands.
Okay.
And all the way through, when I left the house marks and went to college, I kind of thought, well, I can't be in a band if I'm going to do college and not give up halfway through. So I DJ'd all the way through college, and yeah, that was kind of always my first love. But in those days, DJing wasn't really a career; it was a hobby you did in the evenings. But it wouldn't support your rent or pay you for a career. So I felt that being in a pop band was the way to actually make a career for yourself. But all the time I was still DJing in the clubs in Brighton when I wasn't working, and yeah, but that was about around the time of the Big Beat Boutique was when I realised that more people wanted to see me DJ than trying to play bass or guitar in a band.
Yeah, so you've done the House Martins, you've done Beats International, you had Mighty Dubcats going, Freak Power.
Freak Power. Yeah, I mean, at the time that I started being Fatboy Slim, I was in Freak Power, I was Pizza Man, and I was the Mighty Dubcats. Frankly, the last thing I needed was another alter ego, but Damien had this idea for a new label with a new style of music that he knew I sort of played DJ, and he said, we kind of had this, we'd got a bit bored with house and we wanted to mess around with a bit, and so we started playing trip hop records at 45, and what became known as Big Beat was something that I was DJing, and he just said, oh, why don't you make a tune like those tunes that you play? And that was the birth of Fatboy Slim.
So how quickly from that point, you DJing in a, with frozen fish in your hand in a sort of a cafe, how quickly did that become the phenomenon of Fatboy Slim?
It's over 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years of doing the boutique. We did a big. There was a festival in Brighton called Essential Festival, and we had a Big Beat Boutique tent, which held like 1,200 people. Now the boutique only held like 350 people, so we'd never seen the power of if you put all those. So if everybody who came every other week all came in one and we put them in a tent, then we realised that we were sort of onto something, and it could be bigger than just, you know, a DJ who makes 12-inch records. I think that was when my manager decided I should make an album.
Yeah.
Which in those days, dance music, you know, no one made albums. It didn't. I think the Prodigy was they're the only people who made it. I don't think Chemical Brothers had a record out at that point. But it was around that time when people were going, actually, you know, you can make. It's like dance music album in the same sentence. No.
Yeah, so we'll come back to the DJing. So let's talk about your production. You know, you were obviously a producer anyway, and you knew your way around a studio. You know, as Fatboy Slim, how was this kind of different? Obviously, well, it was a one-man electronic band.
I think I was freed up to not worry about working with anybody else and not worry about having any rules about how I made the records. And so I just graduated into using samples almost primarily in a kind of sort of collage way, rather than before I'd sort of used a drum beat sample or, you know, had a few little snippets. The idea I could just indulge myself and just make a record entirely out of samples. In those days, there was no issues about sample clearance because unless you had a hit, no one really gave a toss.
You have a few hits.
Yeah, well, I found out later that once you have had hits and people come and ask for money, then you've got no bargaining power because you can't delete the record.
So how many samples are there on your records that haven't been discovered yet?
Lots.
Anyone's
lots. I don't want to get anyone. I think one thing just going away from my career into a kind of state of the music business, I've noticed recently that all the horrible ambulance chasing lawyers, the sample clearance lawyers, who were kind of stomping on everybody's creativity for years once they realised that with the hits come the writs, they've kind of realised that as the music business shrinks and as they can't police the internet, all those horrible lawyers have all gone off and chased another ambulance somewhere else. So I'd just like to say, yeah, goodbye to all those nasty lawyers.
So
they're not here on their expense accounts anymore.
Any lawyers in
Unless
the
you
audience?
are. Any lawyers in the house?
No.
I'm not one of those.
Good.
Not a sample clearance lawyer. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Nile Rodgers this morning talking about how listening to a Giorgio Moroder track gave him the sort of inspiration to make one of his records. You know, like a track like Rockafellar Skank. You know, where did that come from?
Indirectly from Giorgio Moroder. When I Feel Love came out, I was a punk rocker. And sort of had bought, there was that whole disco sucks movement and everything, and I was a young angry punk, and then I heard I Feel Love, the 12-inch version, and it was like, ooh, what is this lovely bubbly electronic sound, and is this what being on drugs sounds like? And yeah, no, that I Feel Love had a profound effect on me and turned me on to electronic music and turned me on to dance music and stopped me being a punk rocker and changed my life. So indirectly, that was where Rockafellar Skank came. Rockafellar Skank was, do you remember Rock the Funky Beat by Natural Born Chillers?
Yeah, yeah.
That was my template.
Right.
Chopping when it goes rock the funky beat. That was kind of my inspiration. So
that's where you stole it from.
Yeah. That's where I borrowed the idea from.
Okay, and I mean, let's talk about some of your other big hits. Weapon of Choice, obviously, with the Christopher Walken video. Did you have a direct hand in?
No, that was probably the one I had the least hand in because I was supposed to have a cameo doing the hoovering at the beginning when he's sitting in the hotel lobby, but my wife decided to give birth to our first child that weekend, so I couldn't go. No, that was totally Spike and Christopher Walken's idea that they drummed up one night at dinner, and then Spike just came out and phoned me and said, "How about Christopher Walken tap dancing in your next video?" And I just went, "Yeah." But Spike must take all the credit for that. Yeah, all I did was finance it.
Okay. And Praise You, so Praise You was your first number one, is that right? First solo number one?
Well, if you count Fatboy Slim as being solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Fatboy Slim not solo?
I don't know, sometimes I can't, the distinction between where Norman Cook ends and Fatboy Slim, sometimes I do think I'm in a band called Fatboy Slim.
Right, okay.
The boundaries sometimes get a bit blurred.
And Praise You, what's the sample there?
The sample was, the vocal was Camille Yarborough, a song called Take Your Praise, which she obligingly sung the first 3 lines of a cappella, which makes it ripe for plunder. Trying to think what other samples are on that I could talk about.
Well,
Probably none.
I think we've done samples. I mean, let's go into, because there's so many different parts to your career. There's the DJing, there's the production. You even came into my field of things with your own events, your own sort of street festival with the Big Beach Boutique in 2002.
Well, we've done 5 in Brighton.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll leave it to the professionals to actually arrange festivals. I think what it was is there was a fantastic groundbreaking time when DJs and club music were coming out of the clubs, and we were getting, you know, Glastonbury suddenly had a dance tent, and then we were actually getting loud on the main stages with the rock bands. And there was this kind of pioneering spirit of how far can we take it, and I did some shows with Armand Van Helden in a boxing ring in the middle of Brixton Academy, and it was like kind of how far can we push this, and did a free party on Brighton Beach which really took off, and then the second one really took off. And yeah, I think there's odd little things like after that Loch Ness was our next target. It's like, why has no one done a gig on the shores of Loch Ness? Technically it is a beach because it's a saltwater loch. So we did that, and that kind of snowballed into a festival. It was just, I mean, it was the crazy wild old days where people like you and me would go, let's have a festival right here and see what happens. But
well, it was when you guested for me at Glastonbury when we hosted the Radio 1 stage as Sunday Best, and that was what actually made me think, well, I'm going to start a festival. So in a sort of indirect way, yeah, you're responsible for Bestival, because it was like, wow, this is great. We're all running around with horses' heads on and just, you know, it was like just fancy dress and... Yeah,
and you took it and ran with it.
Yeah, took it and ran with it. And
yeah, that was another defining moment in not saying my professional life, because it's one of the more unprofessional sets I've ever played, wearing a horse's head. Yeah. That was my claim to fame was that night of experimenting, playing, I think it was Hey Boys, Hey Girls by the Chemical Brothers, playing the entire record backwards to see if the audience would dance backwards. Which a lot of them did. Did
it work?
It did, yeah. And yeah, Ed Chemical came up, said, what the fuck are you doing? I said, I'm trying to see if I play it backwards, they'll dance backwards. And he just went, are they? He went, there they are. Yes, and how that kind of behaviour could beget an international music festival that you've now got. Congratulations.
Craze. I mean, yeah, you're sort of famous for, you know, your insane gigs, whether it's you know, Glastonbury or the Big Beach Boutique. What was the one in Rio? Like 1 million people or something?
We did one on the beach in Rio. I don't know how many. I don't think it was 1 million. It was 350,000. It was 350,000. Do I hear 360? Sorry.
Thank you to David Levy there for the factoids, and then obviously closing of the Olympics atop a giant octopus.
Yeah, there's many moments in my career when I do something and me and my manager afterwards go, that's it, we've got to retire now, we're never going to top that. And we did that after the first Brighton Beach, and then after the second one. The Olympics was another one of like, that's about as big and stupid as it's ever going to get. But never say never. Yeah, that was a tremendous honour to be, because I was the only DJ there, I kind of felt I was representing Team GB. And it was an extraordinary show.
What was it like being in that?
Well, I don't know if you've ever DJ'd standing on the top of a hydraulic bus inside a 60-foot inflatable luminescent octopus. It's kind of surreal.
Not recently, no.
Yeah, it was as surreal as it looked, and the occasion just made it even more surreal. And the fact that kind of the Olympics had gone well for England, we felt we had something to celebrate.
Were you actually DJing?
Of course not. I was miming my little sweet little arse off.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, apart from, yeah, I mean, we're still on the gigs actually. Have you been offered anything that you sort of turned down as just too insane? You know, DJing on top of the Eiffel Tower or up Everest or anything? Or,
ooh.
I mean, where's next? You know, you seem to be always pushing the barriers, like.
I've kind of got to, but I think after doing things like the Big Beach ones and the Olympics, it's kind of, we can't get it any bigger. You can't play to a bigger audience. And also because I'm not kind of the hit-making machine that I was before, we can't expect more and more people to turn up. So at the moment, we're enjoying going sideways and doing things like playing at House of Commons.
Yeah.
We've got a great gag lined up for Glastonbury this year.
Yeah, tell us about your
Glastonbury. I can't.
Your manager did say to talk about it.
Am I allowed to talk about it? No.
Ah, right.
Management says no, sorry.
Right.
No, but
are we allowed to say what it's called? Yeah, it's the Glastonbury
tour,
which is if anyone's from the UK, then TOR, it's the Glastonbury tour.
TOUR, depending on how you spell it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Hilarious
basically the idea is to go sideways rather than making the gigs bigger and bigger. It's to find stranger and more interesting places to play and where to play. So I would never say never to anything from, I don't know, Richard Branson's new space project. Now I play on CD rather than vinyl, because I did always worry that if I got the call from Richard Branson, I couldn't work out how we'd keep the needle on the record and stop it floating around. But now I'm playing CDJs and Serato. I reckon as long as we can nail them down to something, we can still play.
So you would like to be the first DJ in space?
Yeah, who wouldn't? I think.
Anyone who's not a DJ?
That's why I've been doing the marathons. I'm training up for it.
Right, okay. Cool. You've worked with so many amazing artists and very, very diverse range, from Iggy Pop, Macy Gray, David Byrne, Dizzy Rascal. I mean, how do you kind of decide? I mean, obviously it's the style of the track kind of defines it a little bit, but...
It's mainly kind of sort of vocalists rather than producers. So I've got tons of friends who are producers, and we maybe talked about collaborating, and it's like, what would we do if if you put too many producers in the room, it probably clutters things rather than making it better. So it tends to be singers with a voice that I really rate, or a personality that I really rate. I mean, David Byrne, Iggy Pop and Bootsy Collins are just three of my all-time idols, and to have the opportunity to bump into him and maybe suggest that we did something together was great.
Who's next?
I don't know. I've always said Al Green.
Yeah.
But I've been dropping hints for about 12 years now, and I think
he's getting on.
He's getting on. Also, he's the Reverend Al Green, and he's a pious man these days, and I think his management have told him what a godless heathen sinner I am, and that he's probably best he's not in the same room as me.
Did a sort of re-rub of Praise You and told him it was like a sort of hymn type thing, maybe?
I think my shot at redemption is probably gone for some of my other behaviour.
Jean-Michel Jarre?
Jean-Michel Jarre, yeah, I was having a good chat. Well, if we can just crack crack the air plug in, we're in business.
Yeah, of course. Okay, let's talk about mega stardom, hedonism, partying. Is there anything off limits here? Not that I've got anything.
No, I don't know much about mega stardom, but the other two, I could definitely wax lyrical.
Okay, that's good. Well, let's wax. I mean, obviously, yeah, you started off DJing. You invented this moniker, Fatboy Slim. I'm sure you never saw that it was going to become this. You'd become the biggest DJ on the planet for a long time. Did it feel like it was going to go that way, or?
No, it was, like I said, it was one of a series of pseudonyms. Though once it started, I kind of felt like, finally, after 15 years in the music business, I've kind of found my right path. And yeah, because Fatboy Slim is kind of just like an exaggerated cartoon character of me. And so I didn't have to sort of adapt to anything else. Right. I could just kind of indulge being me, but more, which led to a lot of indulgence and the Hawaiian shirts getting louder and louder. But no, it's a comfortable persona to be in. But especially when I kind of found myself in the top 10, and also marrying Zoe, my wife, made us a kind of celebrity couple.
Yeah. Then
some things got a little bit askew. Sometimes I didn't know quite where Norman finished and Fatboy Slim began, and vice versa. But yeah, nowadays I've kind of hit on the idea that when I put the Hawaiian shirt on, I'm Fatboy Slim, and then as soon as I take it off, I can go home and be with my kids and be responsible. So now, I mean, before Fatboy Slim was my irresponsible, drunken alter ego. Now he's just my irresponsible ego.
Right.
Alter ego.
Nice. So the bigger it got, you know, did you at no point kind of go, wow, this is just getting out of control? I'm sort of not quite sure what's going on.
It got pretty out of control, but I think I was consistently that little bit more out of control than it. So it didn't seem that out of control compared to me.
Just felt like real life.
It just felt like, yeah, this shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I mean, I think if I'd been hit with that level of success earlier in my career, I probably would have gone nuts or disappeared up my own egotistical arse. But because I'd had kind of tastes of fame and success with the House Martins and with Beats International, I kind of had some kind of handle on it. But yeah, no, my way through it was just to kind of, yeah, just ride on the crest of the wave and party my way through it.
Yeah.
And a good time was had by all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to sort of put a dampener on that, but in 2009 it kind of...
Came to an end.
Yeah, it came to an end, and you decided that enough was enough of the sort of crazy partying and...
Yeah, kind of it started to get like it wasn't fun anymore, it was beginning to hurt, and I was beginning to worry about my health and sanity. And yeah, I gave it the best 30 years of my life, but all good things come to an end. And so me and my wife both retired from drinking or any kind of bad behaviour. And yeah, I think probably at the right time. I mean, with no regrets about having had a fantastic 30 years of partying, and with no regrets that I didn't stop leaving any stone unturned. You know, I didn't have no regrets. I wish I just... Yeah. Oh, no, you did.
You did everything.
I wish oh, no, I did that too. And some of the things last night I was reminded of tons of things that I'd forgotten I did.
So was that kind of tricky, doing that under public scrutiny?
It was quite scary, the idea, especially the DJing side of it. I'd always DJed with, you know, after having at least a drink.
Yeah.
Throughout my whole career, so it was kind of unknown territory of what I'd be like DJing sober. And I was kind of scared that I just wouldn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be any good, or I'd get shy. And the first few gigs, I was absolutely petrified.
So what was the first gig back?
First gig was in Newcastle. I was just physical manifestations of fear. You know, like kind of, people talk about jelly legs, and you know, I honestly thought I was going to kind of soil myself with fear. But and it took about 10 gigs to kind of loosen up. Yeah. I didn't dance or move or anything. I was just standing there going, "Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like this?" But yeah, it was sort of a risk that could have been the end of my DJing career if I couldn't do it. So, but I found out I've thoroughly enjoyed doing it. I kind of take it more seriously, and I think the show is better for it. And most importantly, I remember it all now.
I mean, you are the sort of stereotypical, you know, because I don't like DJing totally sober, so I'm sort of, I know what that feels like. You have a couple of drinks just to kind of get yourself in the mood. But I mean, you are the stereotypical sort of jump up and down, go crazy, kind of smiley. Yeah, it's Norman. You know, you're Norman Cook, you're Fatboy Slim. You can't stand there kind of looking miserable, just kind of looking in your record bag like I do. You know, you have to be the showman. You have to turn it on. So
I don't know if I have to be. I probably could get away without it, but it just seems to happen. But when I got on stage, kind of, I look at them getting excited, I get excited, they get more excited, and next thing I know, I'm waving my arms in the air. I don't really intend to do it. And some nights I go out thinking, right, look, don't show off too much tonight. It's a cool crowd. Just stand there, give it some cool poses, and the next 10 minutes later, I'm going, ah. So, yeah, it's just kind of the natural performer in me. I mean, also, I think there's a kind of, the amount of, like, alcohol and narcotics that I pumped into myself for 30 years, I think a lot of it is still floating around, and all it takes is one little jog and I'm kind of straight back there, it's much cheaper.
Keep having flashbacks.
Yeah, I do. I definitely have flashbacks
totally
on stage.
No, I'm not. I'm completely sober. Okay, cool. So yeah, you were kind of actually. What I want to go back to is just get a bit technical for a minute. When you first started DJing, it was probably just vinyl, wasn't it? CDs didn't even exist then, probably.
They hadn't been invented in those days.
So it's 2 turntables and a mixer. Now, you know, I mean, I've booked you for Bestival, seen you DJ all around the world, and now you travel with a kind of army of sort of people. Talk us through the kind of Fatboy Slim DJ setup, you know, who's involved, how it kind of happens.
Well, there's 2 levels of the show. If I'm playing a club, I just go in straight like a DJ, except I'm now playing Serato. So all the music's in a laptop in sound files, and I play two CDJs with control CDs in.
Why did you choose Serato over?
I chose Serato at first because in those days you could use vinyl, and I'd never mixed. Coming from the old school, I'd always mixed on vinyl, and I didn't at first get on with DJing with CDs because you don't know where you are in the tune, and I was just kind of, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But Serato meant I could still carry on playing vinyl even though I was playing digital files and didn't have to worry about the records being scratched and stuff like that. Also, it was a gateway into, when we do the bigger shows, to using the visual element. When we did the first Brighton Beach party, we had inherited a screen from Channel 4 who were organising the event. So we had this huge screen, and it's like, let's put some visuals up. So a friend of mine called Tim Fleming did some visuals. But the thing is, if you're a band who knows their set before, you can program all the visuals to sync with the set. If you're a DJ, especially a DJ like me, you might play anything at any given moment, at any given speed. So we had these visuals, but they were never in sync with what I was doing. But Serato, basically now, when the time code on the CD, you can now send the visuals out as well as the audio, which is brilliant. I can just make stupid videos that go along with the tunes, and no matter what speed I play them or order I play them, they always hit their cues. And so in the big show, well, there's 5 of us when I tour the production show, which is me, Alan, who's my tour manager and wingman, he looks after me. Then Mark Ward, who's the production manager, who oversees the whole production. And then Stephen Abbis, who does lights, and either Bob or Tim Fleming, who do the visuals. And because the new tunes that I haven't written the visuals for, they do it live.
Okay.
And they mix cameras on me and various visual gags.
So which version are you showing us tonight at Dalt Villa?
Tonight at Dalt Villa will be production, that'll be the 18.
The big boy. The
big boy. And then later on at Cipriani's you get the Down and Dirty club set.
Okay. I'm surprised you're doing 2 sets. It's like, after you've done a huge sort of show, do you not feel like you just want something to do?
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. It's, well, everyone's here, we're all wanna...
Up for a party?
It's only an hour at Dalt Villa as well.
Okay.
So it's not that much to kind of... No, I mean, you're here to have fun, and IMS comes but once a year.
Wave your hands in the air.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's get on to... this is like all about social media, people are tweeting and Facebook and stuff. Are you a tweeter?
No.
Have you got a Twitter account?
No.
Does anyone know if he's got?
Yes.
Has Fatboy Slim got?
No, I'm a self-confessed Luddite. No, actually not. I'm not a Luddite. I'm a late adopter. When new technology comes out, like CD, I like to give it at least between 5 and 10 years to prove itself. And in this increasingly technical age, 5 years you can actually bypass 2 or 3 things, which I kind of like. I'm the man who never got Betamax and hit VHS, didn't do mini disc. So I kind of skip a few generations, and I'm still not sold on the social media.
Right. Are your kids on Twitter yet?
No, not yet, but my son is fast approaching it. My wife is on it more than I'd like. No, I'm not sure I've got the hours in the day. I'm too busy doing things to start. I mean, just now, and I met Jean-Michel Jarre and Idris, and I was like, and everyone was like going, all right, can we get something, something for my Twitter feed and something for, what's it called? Facebook. No, the new one. Not
Vine.
No, Instagram. And everyone was like, Instagram. And I would never remember, about an hour later, I'd be thinking, I was with Jean-Michel Jarre, I should have taken a picture, really. And then I say, has anyone got a picture? It's like, no, you already tweeted it. So there are people in my contingent, mainly Alan, who does do Instagram. But I come from a generation where you don't communicate like that.
No.
And I'll give the social media another couple of years just to make sure it's not a fad. But meantime, obviously, I do recognise that business-wise, we have to be in touch. So my management and record company and people run various Facebook and
making
Twitter
things
and
up about you that
Instagram.
you've got no idea what they're saying. And
I think I kind of have a sort of
rough
overview.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's touch on a couple of last things before we throw it open to the floor. Obviously, a lot of chat this weekend about EDM, the dirty word.
What's the general consensus then? So I haven't been to any panels yet. Is EDM dead? Dying? No. Ooh.
It's a hot topic that some people are like, the bubble's about to burst, and other people.
I thought I'd be first on the bandwagon of like, EDM is dead. Long live dubstep.
Can someone tweet that? Fatboy Slim, EDM is dead. I mean, yeah, there are differing opinions on it. Obviously, you were kind of, like you said, you were pretty much the first sort of superstar DJ. I mean, we had people like Sasha and Carl Cox and stuff, but mega stardom, and obviously going to the States, we've sort of, this is kind of like the second wave in a way for us, isn't it? Well, for you.
They called it, the Americans called it electronica first time around, which never really kind of summed it up.
No,
but
it sounded a bit
the current wave in America is like, this time it's proper swept the country and then filtered out throughout the whole world, which is a fantastic thing. And even though some people might be a bit sniffy about how the commercial end of it is, it's opened our industry up so much and brought so many more people to the table, and at the same time driven a lot of people underground.
Yeah.
It's kind of, there used to be a big middle ground in dance music, and now it's like you're either commercial or you're underground, and the two can exist even in the same room here.
Yeah, sure.
And the trickle down, for everybody who slags off the Swedes or Vici for being too commercial, the trickle down throughout the industry goes down to the most minimal techno DJ, or we all benefit from it, so we can't be sniffy about the commercial end.
Right. Well said. So I mean, you kind of stood on the sidelines, kind of. I mean, you're obviously you've been there, you've done it, you're above that in a way, but or your management.
My analogy would be, I've kind of got my feet on two boats, which are gradually, as they go apart, at one point I've got either to split myself in half or make a decision which boat I'm on.
Yeah.
I think I kind of veer for the underground boat more because I'm not making chart records anymore. I would be more defined as underground. But also I think the underground is more enduring. Like you said, 10, 15 years ago, there was an enormous explosion with kind of Daft Punk and the Chemical Brothers and Prodigy and me in America. And then 5 years later, they kind of they were done with us and spat us back out. But around the world, there's an underground and there's a club scene that exists way out of radio or TV or, and especially now with the internet, we can exist below the radar and be quite happy. And when it does go, it kind of will blow up. It's brilliant. But I think you have to be aware that, when the good ship Big Beat went down, I didn't want to go down with it. No. And the good ship EDM is riding on such a wave. There will be a point when the backlash comes. Yeah. And I think I'll probably be back in the clubs then, rather than headlining some Uber festival in America.
Yeah. Well, it must be tempting, for the people
contentious to my manager. And
I was going to say who run your life to sort of not run your life, but help you run your life. Then to go right. Well, let's get Norman out there. Norman needs to be like everywhere. And
it was quite interesting because I wasn't invited to America for quite a while because I wasn't having hits. They kind of I wasn't getting invited, and then with the EDM thing, they kind of sort of wheeled me out as the veteran, which is kind of exciting, but. I don't know, I played Ultra the other week, and I did one weekend in Carl's tent, and one weekend on the main stage with the big boys. And it was quite an interesting sort of difference, because the crowd are completely different. One was playing to Carl's underground crowd, one was playing to the bigger room lot. And I enjoyed both, but I think I know my heart is with Carl.
Yeah.
Not with...
Were you sort of tweaking your set? Were you playing kind of like trap and dubstep and sort of, were you kind of going...
No, I was tweaking my set, but not... I mean, I don't play trap or dubstep. No, I played more commercial for the younger kids on the main stage, and played a bit harder and deeper for Carl's lot.
Cool. Okay, so what's the future? What's around the corner?
Sadly, nothing on the production front at the moment until I suddenly You what? Have a good idea. Yeah. Have a good idea.
Right.
I've had a few ideas, but I don't think they're good enough. At the moment, I'm just really enjoying DJing, and there's so much fun to be had. And like I said, you know, the world of EDM has opened the whole world, so I can now play. I'm kind of ticking off boxes, countries I haven't played yet, sort of venues or situations I haven't played in. And the DJing seems to take up most of my year. Be back here 5 times, I think, over the summer. And yeah, and at some point, crack on with the difficult 5th album.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Norman Cook, Fatboy Slim. Don't know if anyone's got any questions. If we've got time.
Hello, Josh from Chicago. Hey, I heard you recently make that statement about Daft Punk giving everyone a kick in the ass with the new album. And I know you said you don't have anything on the production front, but with that statement being said, if you could expand on it and what it might mean to the next Fatboy Slim material, are we looking at live instrumentation and 70 snares with air in them on the next thing, possibly, or? And I also wanted to know real quick, sorry, second question about the studio, because I know you're kind of famously against, you weren't big on computers and plugins. Are you still with the Ataris and the hardware and where you're at now?
If I answer that question first, I think that is possibly one of my problems with making new productions. I was finally realised that I had to move on from the Atari, and so I got Ableton, and that was like 4 years ago, and I'm still learning how to use it. The technology kind of boggles me a bit. And in a way, not being able to make the records in that old school way, and maybe that's one of the reasons I've lost my love for it, because I like kind of taking a really old bit of machinery and just seeing how much you could abuse it and use it. Whereas you look at Ableton and you can do absolutely everything, and it's a bit mind-boggling. And then the Daft Punk thing, I think, I mean, coming back with a record like that has given the dance music industry a kick up the arse, because it's just reminded us maybe how far away from the groove a lot of EDM has become, and it's become quite cheesy and bland. And they've literally just gone back to basics and says, this is where this music came from. It came from disco and it came from funk. But obviously, if I then went and tried to do the same thing, I wouldn't do it as well as Daft Punk. And I think it's an eye-opener of where dance music came from, and also an eye-opener of, look, you don't have to do what everybody else and just bigger and more bombastic. You could actually do something that, you know, is more you and different, which is something that I've always tried to do. Daft Punk are currently doing it better than me, but I'll be back when I come up with a better idea.
They did spend £2 million on it, so...
Well, the end justifies the means.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Any other searching questions?
Carlos from London. I just wanted to know the height of the hedonism and the kind of the super stardom. What were some of the things on your DJ rider?
It's mainly vodka, Diet Coke, Red Bull, cocaine and towels. As far as I know. No food.
Anyone else?
All right, that also means you've done your job so well, Rob.
Yeah.
You've covered everything.
Research. Okay, thank you very much, and big up again, Fatboy Slim.